Hello, hello, hello. Happy Monday, ladies and gentlemen. I know that this is a different face greeting you all today. My name is Serena Brown Travis. I am a part of the trio of the Dream Do Done combination. Our friend, our most energetic partner, Stacie NC Grant, is on a road trip today, and so we are certainly filling in for her as she has always filled in for us. And I am here with my co-host, Tamara Hartley, the how-to coach. Miss Tamara, how are you today?
I am doing well, Miss Serena Brown Travis.
I know this is totally not what I do, but knowing my coach Tamara, this is one of those, like, let's just see what you're going to do, and then she'll give me feedback. She'll call me like on a Friday night and say, hey, can we talk? So at any rate, ladies and gentlemen, always have yourself surrounded by people who will make you stretch and who will give you something at the last minute. This is the epitome of leap and grow your wings on the way down. Now, I do see that our friend and sister Stacie is here.
You know she can't stay away.
I know.
Look, her audio is not working, so you might see her wave a little bit, nod a little bit, but she just had to be here. You know she couldn't take a rest. This is Dream to Done. You know, no matter what, we go on, and this is just another example of that, all right?
Indeed. And the fact of the matter is that she's still fancy on the road trip. Like, I mean, how you know, now when I'm on a road trip, I'm hit. Like, I assure you, you would not recognize me at all. But Stacie still has a shine and brilliance about her. And so we are so grateful for her and for her being on the show, even while she's on the road trip. So
and she's not driving too. So someone else is driving. So she's okay.
I'm loving it though. It's like she's a mime.
Wait, Serena. Now it's our time to like mess with her. Have we ever seen a quiet Stacie? Has anyone? She always has something to say, right? She's just a ball of energy. For those of you that know and love her, you know this. So this is probably hard for her.
Right, her little. Did you see her little lip come poking out? Look at that face. Look at our Stacie. Wait. What'd you say? No,
you see how real friends do. We're gonna mess with her. Okay, let's get the show started, Serena. Let's go.
Okay, fine. I'll act mature. So one of the things that we've always talked about, even amongst ourselves, is having multiple streams of income. So it's something that we would highly recommend, something that I'm sure that you maybe hopefully have found is invaluable. You know, my father would say that the 40-40 plan is gone, where you work 40 years, retire on perhaps 40% of your pay, just to retire and not have enough. You know, a job, he'll even say at times, is just over broke. So, you know, he has always encouraged, I know that amongst ourselves, we've always encouraged multiple streams of income. I remember that grandma would say, when one door closes, another door will open. So therefore, it is always important to have multiple streams of income. So I know for myself, I own a restaurant. I'm also an author. And these are all things because of my sisters who have required me to do more and to push me. These things would not have be possible. But again, a restaurant owner, an author, a speaker. I'm probably missing something, but I'm sure that they will remind me that I am missing something.
You're missing a few things because your family also owns a barbershop, and you all do, you know, you used to have the food truck. So you've always had, and you know, sometimes it's funny, and I just want to say this because sometimes when you are, you know, Les Brown's daughter, people think like that's your bread and butter, that you live off of that. But you have been an entrepreneur for many, many years. And even though you've worked in his business, you've always had your own business. And that's truly, truly important. And so I always like pointing that out because you have diversified yourself in addition to even working with him and doing what you do for his company as well. So when you talk about multiple streams of revenue, you always had that. I mean, when I first met you, that was one of the things I was like, wow.
Well, so look. You reminded me, there was one time I was at a wedding, or, you know, no, it was like the bridal shower. So everyone went around the room and was giving advice. And there was an 86-year-old woman there who leaned up, you know, now some of the advice was, you know, strong communication, you know, always have fun. And this lady, 86 years old, leaned up and she said, always have your own. And she sat back. And that's all she said. And that was 10 years ago, but I remember just how impactful that one sentence was, to always have your own. So even if you have a job, even if you have a nice, wonderful corporate job with a whole bunch of, leave time and all of the perks that come along with it, it is still important to always have your own. So Tamara, I appreciate you reminded, you said, you've always had your own. And what's funny is that people say, well, you're Les Brown's daughter. And I'm like, yeah, okay. Yeah, you're Les Brown's daughter. Oh, okay. Well, I had no idea what it meant, only because I have still always worked and made sure that I am, I can make something of myself outside of my father. So again, I'm grateful for my father, but I'm also grateful that I know who I am outside of the Les Brown brand. So Tamara, I appreciate you bringing that up, because again, I would completely forgot.
And I'm just going to fill in for Stacie a little bit. She also has multiple streams of revenue. Many of you always hear her talk about Faithpreneur Weekend and things like that, but she also has the Destiny Designers University. She's also an author, a speaker. You all have seen her on many flyers across this country. I just seen her on one with George Fraser. So she's doing something with him as well. So she has multiple streams of revenue, but she also has multiple business partners that she works with. She works with other people who are helping people with their businesses. So she partners as the Faithpreneur, the chief Faithpreneur. So she has multiple streams of revenue. She works with her family. Her and her husband have things that they do together. I know that he also does his videography, photography, and things like that, but they do things together as a family. Her son, if you've ever been the Faithpreneur, you've probably met her whole family. Her son does things. So as a family, they have multiple streams of revenue coming into their household. And as for myself, I was always the one who had the corporate job, and I did corporate. I've worked for, a prominent pastor. I've always had a job. And one day I met someone who told me, because I always had like side hustles. Mm-hmm. So some of I do voiceovers, I do commercials, and those little cheesy videos when you go to a corporate job or you go get a job and they show you what you should and should not do. Oh, I'm in a ton of those. Because that was always a side hustle. But when I really started getting the itch for entrepreneurship, like, okay, I really want to open a business. I want to do some coaching. I want to do this. I was a nervous wreck because I didn't know how to leave corporate. So I was always one of those people that always had my foot in corporate and entrepreneurship. I did both. And so if you meet people who tell you that you have to quit one or do the other, I mean, there might come a time in your life where you have to choose, especially if your entrepreneurship is taking off and you can't be dual focused. Yes, you do. But I've always had, responsibilities. I always needed those benefits. I always needed things. And so I always did both. And you can find time to do both. So as for me with the coaching, we talked about all the time on this show about pivoting and having different things you can do digitally. A lot of my business is digital. So I don't have a storefront. I don't have any place you could show up, but I am online and most of my business is digital. I do a lot of audio training. I do a lot of workshops and webinars. All of those are multiple streams of revenue. I'm also, in my past life, I used to be a graphic designer. So I do a lot of design projects as well. So some of those things, I kind of like having passive income, which means that it is truly passive. I put it up and put it out for sale, and it just kind of takes care of itself. I do a lot of those kind of projects because I like being able to make money while I'm asleep. And really just using everything that you have for business ideas. Even though that's not, graphic design and doing those books and things like that are not a large part of my business, it's a part of my business. So you do not have to choose between one or the other. If you want to have multiple streams of revenue, go ahead and do that. I think I read somewhere that the average millionaire has 7 streams of revenue, and it might be 9 now. Who knows? Because this digital world really opens up what we are allowed to do. So I encourage any of you to think about how you can contribute. If you have a hobby, You know, Serena, people are turning their hobbies into streams of revenue. It may not be what you do full time. And like I said, you don't have to quit your day job if you have one. You don't have to quit, but you can do things that are natural to you, things that are fun for you, and still turn a revenue with that. And some people don't think about the things they know how to do well as being able to make money. If you know how to braid hair, you can braid hair on the side. If you know how to cook, maybe you can cook and sell some things on the side. I mean, Serena shared last week that she works with other entrepreneurs who sell desserts or do something different than what she does, and she allows them to sell in her restaurant. Maybe if you make some pound cakes, Serena let you sell in her restaurant.
As long as it's good, baby, it can be in there. But I think you raise a valid point. There's one point I would like to touch on is don't be discouraged and don't, if all of your side hustles, if none of them have a common theme. So for instance, I have a restaurant, I have a food truck. I forgot I also have integrity sanitation team. We do fogging, for the pandemic that we have at hand, and a barbershop as Tamara mentioned. So, a lot of times even people and people's opinions will say, well, you seem to be all over the place.
Well, I'm not all over the place. So was my money, honey.
Right. And I was going to say, it's not all over the place when the checks come in. All of the money spends accordingly, and it's always just good to have a backup. So for instance, let's say the barbershop, as we know, our state, along with many other states, had to be completely shut down. Thank goodness our restaurant was still going. Thank goodness we moved into the direction of an integrity sanitation team, so that while the barbershop was shut down, we can go out and then fog barbershops, restaurants, salons, and other places to keep them going. There's no common thread, no common theme, except for the idea that the owners behind it are just hustlers and looking for another opportunity to make something happen for ourselves and also for our families. You never know. In fact, even in the barbershop, we have vending machines. I had no idea that a bubblegum machine and a candy machine and a pop machine could make as much money as it made. And this is money, as Tamara mentioned, that you make in your sleep. That I would occasionally go and say, oh, well, let me go get my quarters. And I had to go back out to my car and get a double bag to bag up my quarters. And that's like a good feeling. Again, barbershop, pop machine, seriously, you would go, well, you're all over the place, especially since my degree is in political science. Nothing seems to match up. However, when you're always looking for the next opportunity, my father would say, strike while the iron is hot. I'll never know, and you'll never know, when the money that you're not thinking about comes in handy, because maybe something else is dried up in the process.
And that is so funny that you said that, because, opportunities that will open up things for you as well, if you're open to that. Mm-hmm. And I've done a lot of things by opportunities that comes along like, oh, okay. And then it's like, wow, if I do this for one person, hey, it's a business. I can do it for several people. This might be a problem that I can solve, a niche that I found that I can turn into another side hustle for myself. And it's so funny because they always call me the queen of the side hustle, because I'm always doing something. But I like getting my random checks in the mail. I like kind of having that steady stream of dings when I get up. And I know I have been selling an ebook online for years. And I promise you, every time I get a ding, I still screenshot it. I don't know who I'm sending the screenshot to or what, but I screenshot it because it's like, wow. And usually when I get one ding, I get several. So I'm like, what are these people doing that they're coming across this ebook that I have on sale? And this came out of, I had done, remember I did a 21-day juicing fast.
I do remember that.
Yes. And all I did was journal what happened. Then I started videotaping what I was doing and shared the process. It's an ebook. It's $19 on I have a website called myjuicingjourney.com, and I sell the ebook there. And I'm telling you, every so often it's a surge and people start buying this ebook. I don't do any marketing for it. I don't do anything for it. People just come across it in their search. So that must be some good SEO. Because I promise you, I don't do anything for it. I don't even really promote it. I just share the journey for others who want to take it. And it became a product. So even if you don't have a full-fledged business, you can have a product. You can have something that you know how to do, that you learned how to do, an experience that you went through, and turn it into some extra revenue. I hear all the time about, there's so much stuff out there. There's a lot of things that you can research, people selling products on Amazon and all of that good stuff. It is doable even for you, no matter what you have going on. The real funny thing is that I use my corporate job what I do in the daytime to furnish all of my all of my side hustles that need me to put something into it. So that's how I look at it. It's like my number one financier.
But the other good thing too is also don't be surprised of where your side hustle comes from. So for instance, my food truck came from the idea I took my cousins to the fair, and this is like 10 years ago, and the food was crazy expensive. I purchased it, but then when we left, what did they tell me? They told me they were hungry. And I'm like, oh, this is crazy. This is crazy. And as parents, as aunties and uncles, we've all been there before. And so I figured, wait a minute, if these people are making this kind of money off of food, I only had 4 kids with me, and no joke, I spent about $250 on food. So I was just blown at the idea that they had the nerve to say they were hungry when we got in the car. Where's your corn dog? Where's your hot dog? Where's your fries? Where's your cotton candy? That is how we came up with the idea of a food truck, because I thought if they could make this kind of money in one day, I could make this kind of money in one day. And then, of course, 8 years later, we have the brick and mortar in terms of where we are now. But yeah, so don't be surprised of where your idea comes from. It may come from out of aggravation. Like it was true aggravation. I'm thinking, my cousins are saying we're hungry, and they were for real hungry. And after we left the fair, I still had to stop and get them food from our from a local fast food place. And again, the idea came out of aggravation. So whatever may aggravate you, whatever you may see as an opportunity or a challenge, that is where you should look at to see what are some of the things that bother you. So another part of the food truck is I also recognize how expensive things were. Well, when you have 4 and 5 kids, you can't afford a $10 or $12 meal when you're walking around the fair. You just cannot. That doesn't even make good sense. And so one of the things I wanted to do was to have the Sam Walton approach. And he's the founder of Walmart and Sam's Club, which was have a great product come in at a lower price. I'm not trying to undercut anyone, but we have a common sense approach to food prices and an excellent quality. And so that's really where we came out of. And one of the things I remember the most that touched me deeply was when I was at an event, and this lady came back to my food truck all by herself, and she said, "Thank you for not embarrassing me in front of my children." She had the 4 children, and all of her children were able to eat for $20. And she said, "Thank you for not embarrassing me." And then she left me a $10 tip. So that let me know that I was on the right track. And you think and I was thinking to myself, how many other mothers or aunties or people in general, oh, well, we're not going to eat. We'll eat when we get home. There's nothing better than going to an event, a festival, and walking around with your fries and a hot dog or chicken on a stick and so on and so forth. And I did not want price to be the reason why you could not enjoy that. So again, once you figure out what it is you want to do, then also look at where are the areas that if you were a consumer, where would you want? What would be the price you would want? What would be some of the product offerings you want? I didn't have to do any research in a book. I literally just took what we talked about at home, what my husband and I talked about at home, and we just put it into practice. And here we are 10 years later, still doing well in the industry. And so for that, we are super grateful.
So first off, I am sitting here trying to wonder how come 2 of my kids didn't go with you to that fair, because I'm one of those, I have 4 kids. And I know what that's like when you have to go to the fair and you go other places. One of the reasons we don't go out to dinner a whole lot is because there's so many of us. Not only do you have the kids, then you have the adults and you have everybody. By the time we go out to dinner, we should, I just went to Orlando over the weekend, and all of my grandkids, my kids, my girls were there. And we actually went to the store. We stayed in a suite that had, the kitchen and dining room. We actually did a seafood boil because it was cheaper for us to do that. And plus, with all the coronavirus and stuff going on, it wasn't as safe anyway, but we would have done that anyway because it's cheaper for us to eat at home than to go out to a restaurant with all of us.
Right. It's a utility bill. I have another girlfriend with 4 kids, and she said by the time she takes her 4 kids, her mother, and you leave a tip, she's like, "Girl, I just paid the utility bill for gas and electric." So nonetheless, making sure that it makes sense. It's a win-win. We have never shot ourselves in the foot, and we're going to make sure that, we have a product that you're happy to spend the money on. And so, but that's literally exactly how our food truck was born. I was frustrated and aggravated that the price of food was way too high. And I don't want to say it wasn't good, but
well, a lot of times it leaves a lot to be desired.
Right. So
but you said something key, though. One of the things you said is that, you set your own prices and you really didn't go research that in the book. One of the things that I coach so many of my clients on is pricing when it comes to their digital products. I work with a lot of speakers, a lot of nonfiction expert authors who want to turn their message into multiple streams of revenue. And so one of the things we always get hung up on with many of them is the price, because they're not sure what to charge. If they should have a high ticket item, if it should be something lower that people can afford. So it's funny that you said that, because a lot of my products are really based on what I want them to be. Mm-hmm. I have products that some people are like, well, you're not charging enough, but they sell so well, so I'm doing fine. And the people who the target is, I know who they are. I know what some of their pressure points are, and this is the price that I want to charge them. So I know in the world of business plan that is really part of any business, knowing what your price is, knowing your costs, trying to have that and get over the break even point, but also having a profit. I definitely get that. But when you price your products with integrity and when you price them knowing your audience, you can still win. And that's why I said, so a lot of my prices might seem low to some other people who are trying to, maybe they don't have as many products as me too, because, that also makes a difference too. But I price my stuff the way that I want, and the way that I know the audience that I'm serving really needs them to be. So I appreciated you saying that, because that's me. Even though we're two different businesses, we kind of have that same thought process.
Right. Well, and I know that we're about to close out, but one of the things I remember very well from my father, even early on in his career, he just had a gift of speaking. He had a gift of and a passion for changing the lives of others. When it came to seminars, workshops, selling tapes, that was what we did back in the day, sell tapes, VHS cassettes. The one thing he did not know was pricing, because it was his passion. He would do it if it were free. He would do it if you paid him for it. So one of the things that he said is that as an African American in this field, he wanted things that could appeal to everyone. He never thought about a price at all. So when we showed up to seminars that had other names, other big names that I won't mention, because of what I'm about to say, we noticed that their prices were double, if not triple, what my father was charging. And so then we would go back in our hotel rooms like, wait a minute, we should maybe charge more. And I mean, my dad loves what he does. So a fee, charging accordingly, was never a part of his DNA. It's still a major blind spot of his. And if you've listened to him for free on YouTube, I guess just thank you. Because it was never part of what he was that concerned about. He was more concerned about getting the message out to the masses of it's possible and it's not over until you win, and not charging for a message that should be something that should be deeply embedded in us. But of course, we know so many people who are stuck, and it doesn't cost $497 for someone to tell you it's possible.
Absolutely. Yes. I was around here looking because I actually have a cassette tape. I have videos over there, but I actually have a cassette tape, and it's so funny. So it's I'm never going to get rid of it. I actually have something to play it on too. So I don't know what that says about me.
That how old we are. Now, I mean, literally, my husband. This is a side note. My husband put up another flat screen TV, but we had a tube, a tube. And so he was like, we're going to throw this out. And I'm like, no, it might be a collector's item one day. And so he was just too through with me that I'm not going to let him throw away this TV. But one day it's going to make somebody rich. That's all I'm saying.
So as we close out today, we want to do a couple of things. And this is very important to all of us, but we wanted to make sure. Miss Stacie was like, look, we only got a couple more weeks before voting time. We need to remind our people that early voting is on. And it's so funny because I told her, I'm not early voting. I'm waiting to go that day. So whether you go that day or you do early voting to avoid some of the lines and just some of the process, we encourage you to make sure that you vote and exercise your right to vote. we just have so many important things that are riding on this election. And like Stacie said, not just the presidential election, but your local elections as well. Make sure you participate. So many people died and fought for us to have this right, and we do not take it lightly. So we want to make sure we encourage you all to get out there and vote. And look, see, this is what happens when we don't have Stacie. We appreciate all of you out there listening and tuning in today. We didn't call out anyone's name. we didn't even look at the stream. So please forgive us. Charge it to our mind and not our hearts. We love and appreciate all of you who tune in every single Monday. Just want to make sure you stay tuned to dreamdodone.com. See what we have going on. Stay up to tune with what's going on. And we will be back to see you again on next week. And hopefully all three of us will be able to speak and tune in. We love you all.
All right, I think Stacie's saying something. Hold on. What is it, Stacie? Oh, okay.
Ha ha ha.
I love you.
Take care, everyone.
All right,
have a great rest of the day.